Every creeping scumbag that works the street for a living will know the name of Verbal Kint. The cripple, did you see him? The cripple, which way did he go?
Oh, he went out that way.
I know you know something. I know you're not
So why
telling
don't
me
you say something?
I'm smarter than you. And I'm gonna find out what I want to know, whether you like it or not.
To a cop, the explanation is never that
You know what I'm getting at, Verbal, the truth!
Come on,
There's
Verbal.
no
Who do you
mystery
think
in
you're
the
talking
street, no arch
I know
criminal
you know
lying at
something.
all.
Somebody with power.
There was a
Somebody who
lawyer.
was capable of tracking us from New York to Los Angeles.
Which Kaiser Soze?
You think a guy
Kaiser
like that
Soze.
this close to getting caught and sticks his head out?
You get no advice from me.
Because you're stupid, Verbal. Because you're a cripple.
What I want to know is who's the gimp.
You know the whole fucking time.
How do I know that?
If he comes up for anything,
Kaiser
he's gonna
Soze?
get rid of me. But I'm sure Keaton is dead.
I can't feel my legs, Kaiser.
First thing I learned on the job, you know what it was? How to spot a murderer.
You tell me you got the cripple in there from New York.
Yeah.
He mentioned Kaiser Soze.
Who?
After that, my guess is you'll never hear from him again.
Okay, this is Awkward Occurrence, Awkward Entertainment. Okay, so I just got finished watching Miss Linda's video. It's a Crime, Miss Linda. So, she was talking about the ADT data motion. That, as you can see, is on the right. So you can see the data motions. This is her outline, her drawing, her Excel sheet. On the left, you can see my notes because I did my best to try to follow that. I think I pretty much got it down packed. Pretty much got what she thinks happened with these times down packed. So let's get started. Okay, so of course at the bottom, you see the name Eduardo. I couldn't find Eduardo, so I just went with Eduardo. Quincy Brown and Miss Letecia Stauch. And those are both suspects. Eduardo, Quincy Brown are both suspects she named. So Eduardo, she named, said he was already at the house. Quincy Brown, she says in one of her stories, I believe she took him back to the house, or whomever house she took him to. So the second part of this video is going to talk about Petco and the possibility of her meeting him at Petco. So let's start with this. Letecia Stauch arrives home at 2:19 p.m. I'm going off of what Miss Linda says, the affidavit also. She did not enter the house until 2:30. Okay, Miss Linda, she worries, not worries, she thinks the time period between 2:19 and 2:30, or she speculates Gannon was killed between that time. But in between the time Letecia come home and entering the house to disarm the alarm, then there's no way to tell if anybody was in the house. So I don't know how she would kill Gannon outside in broad daylight. Because for those 10 minutes, no one entered the house. But she killed Gannon outside. I don't know. That's just the answer, one of her speculations. 2:30, let's go. So 2:30 to 3:30, Letecia reported the rape happened. She reported she was raped by this Eduardo character between 2 and 3:30. That's just a sad note for me. 2:30, the back door is set to close. That means somebody entered the house, or they entered the house at 2:30. Motion in the living room at 2:32. I'm going over my notes. Then at 2:32, once again, the back door from the living room opens. Then the back door closes at 2:32. This is a 6-minute window. Miss Linda believes Letecia was in the garage. I don't know if she was in the garage or outside. If I put outside, I don't know what she was doing in the garage for 6 minutes. After I go over these notes, we'll go to the map she made out. Okay, 6-minute window. I don't know if she's outside of the garage. 2:38, the back door opens into the house. So they go into the house from the back door. I don't know if this is a back door from the garage or an actual back door that just leads outside to the backyard. 2:38, the back door opens to the house and to the living room and to the basement at 2:38. 2:42, someone walks into the living room. 2:45, no motion. This is when 2:45, she believes, that's when Letecia unlocked her phone, or whosoever unlocked Letecia's phone. So, from living room to the basement, 2:38, we'll look at the map, but from the basement to the living room, and that's when she was in the living room at 2:45, playing with the phone. 2:48, there's movement from the living room into the basement, from living room. 2:49, movement back into the living room. So 2:48, she went from the living room back into the basement, or whomsoever did. Then at 2:49, at 2:52, there was movement in living room. So, 2:52, around that time, somebody again came up from the basement into the living room, and they exit to the back door at 2:52. The question marks is back door opens and closes at 2:52. There's motion detected in the basement at 2:52 also. So let me go to the middle. Once again, they believe Letecia came up from the basement. She was in the living room at 2:45, checking her phone. For a few minutes, she went back down into the basement. Then she came back up into the living room around 2:52, went into the back door. So she either went outside to the back door or she went to the garage. At the same time, while she's outside or in the garage, there's movement in the basement at 2:52. Now, they don't say who went into the basement. I don't think the type of movement people thinking about is Gannon playing around. Like, Gannon could have been in the basement and playing around. The motion detector wouldn't pick that up. I believe the motion detector picks up when one person enters that area to another area. So it doesn't pick up you running around playing in the basement. Like, it's not picking up 1,000 steps of kids playing in the basement doing whatever. It only picks up when someone goes into that particular part of the house through a door. So that 2:52, someone enters the basement, not someone is moving around. Motion detector basement, Gannon was in the room, or Letecia deleted. Now, she believed at 2:52 that it was Gannon in the basement moving around, because she doesn't state where Gannon was beforehand. Like, before 2:52, there's no sign of Gannon doing anything in the house. Like, there's no sign of any other motion of another person. Maybe some of this other motion could be Gannon moving around, but Miss Linda states most of this motion is from Letecia. So, someone went into the basement but at the same time, Letecia is allegedly in a garage. So there's two movements that nobody knows. No living room detection. Let's continue. No living room detection. Explain the living room detection to explain movement to basement rooms. Yeah. So there was no way to explain how someone got into the basement if there was no detection of them coming from the living room to the basement. 2:55, someone enters the living room. Then 2:55, does basement motion once again. So that 2:55 could be Letecia coming from the garage into the living room, then going back down to the basement. Now, again, Gannon, like, is nowhere mentioned in this. You figure Gannon will walk into the house with Letecia at 2:30 from the garage or from however they got through the house. I suspect they opened the front door at 2:30. She disarmed the alarm. Then he went straight to the basement. Then he stayed in the basement from 2:35 to whenever. I'm trying to piece together what she believes happens. Because there has to be motion by Gannon. So if Gannon walked in the house, is there no motion of him going anywhere before 2:52? Okay. Let's get on to Linda's chart. Oh, so in the bottom right-hand corner, the back door set to close at 2:30. So Letecia got home at 2:16, 2:18. It took a little over 10 minutes before she went in the house, or before whoever went in the house. It took over 10 minutes for some reason. That's when Miss Linda speculates Gannon was killed, which I can't understand how Gannon would be killed at 2:30 or 2:30 or before 2:30 if nobody is in the house. Okay, because the crime happened in the house, so. Okay, 2:32, the living room motion detector. Somebody walks in the living room from the back door. 2:30, 2:32. 2:32, the back door is set to open once again. They went back to the back door, set to open. So they opened the back door. Either they went to the garage or they went outside. 2:32, they closed the door behind them. 6 minutes later is when they went back inside the house, either from the garage or from the back door. That 6-minute time period, I forget what she speculates happens in that 6-minute time period. But for 6 minutes, somebody was outside doing whatever. Then they came back in. So they came back in 2:38. We're still on that right column, at the top of the right column. They came back in, then they closed the door at 2:38. Now we're in the middle column, way at the bottom. From 2:38, they closed the back door. They went into the living room. Then at 2:38 from the living room, they went to the basement. Then this is when they suspect Letecia went to go get her phone. She went back to the living room at 2:42. Then at 2:45, she unlocks her phone. Unless she just sat in the living room. That's what is being speculated. Then 2:45, she's still in the living room on her phone. Then 2:48, there's movement out of the living room into the basement at 2:49. Of course, the basement has 2 bedrooms, a utility room. One of the rooms is Gannon's. Also to note, they found a piece of carpet in a utility room with blood on it. Now, why would Letecia hide evidence in the utility room? Because it states in the affidavit they found a piece of carpet. Because that could be the piece of carpet that was burnt. And they had blood on it, on both Letecia and Gannon's blood. So I had to look back and see whose blood was on that piece of carpet. So you would think she would throw away that piece of evidence. Let's, again, back to the chart. The basement motion, we still in the middle column at the top. 2:49, that's basement motion. That's Letecia going to the basement, they suspect. At 2:52, somebody comes up from the basement, I guess, into the living room. Now, all this motion, it just means somebody moves around in the living room or the basement. It doesn't state who moved around or how many people are moving around in these spots at the same time. So 2:52, we're in the left-hand column at the bottom. There's a living room motion detector believed to be from the basement to the living room. And from the living room, it's to the back door, opens. Then they close the back door right behind them at 2:52. Now, here's where things get strange. At 2:52, Miss Linda claims that is Gannon, or she speculates that's Gannon moving around. And I'm speculating that there is an intruder moving around. So we're still in the left-hand column, 2:52, living room motion The back door opens, the back door closes. Then at 2:52, someone goes into the basement. Okay, the basement. In my notes, what did I say about the basement? Because Miss Linda said something about the basement, what she believes. Anyway, one of her theories was maybe Letecia went outside at 2:52 and climbed through a window. Even though she doesn't think that's probable or 100% it. But go watch It's a Crime video about this. Again, someone goes into the basement. Now, from the back door to the basement, no one comes back into the house from the back door in order to go to the basement. So that leaves room to speculate that somebody may have still been in the living room. Maybe somebody was still in the living room and went into the basement while Letecia was outside the back door at 2:52. So unexplainable motion in the basement. Then from the basement to 2:55, somebody went to the living room. Then once again at 2:56, they went back to the basement. So what I want to look at is left-hand column. At 2:52 at the bottom, there was motion from the living room to the back door. They opened the back door, then they closed the back door. So this person is still outside. But at the same time, somebody goes into the basement. Then 3 minutes later, at the same time, they come up from the basement to the living room, back down to the basement. Now that last column will corroborate a story that there was an intruder in the house. Either some way, somehow, and between all of this on this chart, somebody else came into the house. That's what it's telling me. This is what I speculate. She may have let somebody into the house. Either through the garage or wheresoever. There was somebody else in the house. And not just Letecia and Gannon. Or just Letecia. Okay, now that's what I get from Miss Linda's video. And the video she did was about cleaning up the mess. But what I get is that Letecia let somebody in the house. And that somebody ended up assaulting her. Alright, do I want to touch on anything else? I touched on the chart. How the chart could explain there being an intruder, a possible intruder. Especially at 2:52. And that comment she made about somebody going through a window. I made that comment a couple of days ago on the video. Somebody could have possibly went through a window in the backyard because the police don't have video. Okay, and that will wrap this part of the video up. If I have anything to add, I will put it in the comment section. And this has been Awkward Occurrence of Awkward Entertainment. And I will see you in the next video. We will be talking about Mr. Quincy Brown next. And Petco.
Mr. John Sims?
Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing? Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing? I feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing.
This is Awkward Occurrence for Awkward Entertainment. Okay, we're going to quickly get into Quincy Brown, myth or fact. So along with one of Letecia's many stories, she mentioned Quincy Brown to her husband. This was during a conversation they had mid-February. Within the same phone call, she gave out. So the 4 stories, 3 of them included Quincy Brown. So one was she met him as he followed her from Petco, and he laid in the middle of the street. And that's how he ended up abducting both of them. Another story, Gannon was riding his bike near County Line Road, Highway 105 in northern El Paso. She claims he fell off the bike, hit his head, then Quincy somehow magically came by and abducted him. Now, all these stories suggest that maybe them 2 hours missing that morning of the 27th of January 2020, that maybe there was a Quincy. It was, just being missing 2 hours. What were you doing those missing 2 hours? And those 2 hours came before Gannon was allegedly killed. So they figure, or they theorize, Gannon was killed in the house after he came home with Letecia around 2:15. Now these 2 missing hours is the late afternoon to 12, after 12. So where exactly would she have gone in those 2 hours? What exactly would have happened? So that's what we're getting to with that. But I believe she took another trip out towards that way later on in the week, and the same result was end up missing 2 hours. But you can link those 2 hours to maybe there was a situation with somebody and something went down, and that's how Gannon ended up missing. You probably link that with that. Okay, so Quincy Brown, myth or fact? It may seem more like a myth. I'm not going to even bullcrap. It seems more like a myth. The only thing that would make Quincy Brown real, if those 2 hours she was missing in a tiguan with Gannon, if something actually did happen, lining up to her meeting a Quincy Brown type character. I'm going to go ahead and end this out. This is Awkward Occurrence for Awkward Entertainment, and I'm going to see you in the next video.
Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing?
It definitely is. And here's the thing that kind of saddens me. It's like, if you're going to talk about someone like that and have a witch hunt out for them, why would you even care, about doing those things? Because this is a child. You're telling me that you're just as mean, you're just as hateful to talk about someone else like that. That's how I feel. I've been living for tomorrow.